The first light of dawn painted the quiet streets of Brookhaven with soft hues of gold and amber. The town was slowly waking up, though it remained mostly hushed, save for the faint chirping of birds perched on telephone wires and the occasional hum of a distant car engine. For most people in this serene town, it was just another ordinary morning. But for one woman, today was destined to be anything but ordinary. Her name was Natalie Carrington. At 42, Natalie was the CEO of Carrington Automotive Group, a name that echoed throughout the country as a symbol of success, innovation, and resilience. Her dealerships, known collectively as Sterling Autos, were among the top performing in the nation. She had spent the last 20 years of her life building this empire from scratch, starting with nothing more than a modest showroom on the outskirts of her hometown and a fierce determination to make something of herself. But today, Natalie wasn't headed for her plush corner office on the top floor of Carrington Tower. She wasn't stepping into meetings with board members or overseeing strategic initiatives designed to boost revenue. Today, she was doing something entirely different, something that made her heart race with anticipation and more than a little fear. She was going undercover. The decision. Natalie had always believed in being a hands-on leader. In the early years, she had worked every job imaginable: sales associate, finance manager, customer service rep, even mechanic on days when the team was short-staffed. She knew every inch of the business, inside and out. But as her empire expanded and she was forced to focus on broader strategies, she found herself increasingly removed from the day-to-day operations. It had been months now, maybe longer, since she first heard murmurs of discontent from employees and customers alike. Whispers that the culture at Sterling Autos was changing, and not for the better. There were complaints about aggressive sales tactics, indifferent customer service, and a growing chasm between management and the people who worked the showroom floors. At first, she dismissed it as the usual growing pains of a booming business. But when those whispers turned into credible reports, she knew she couldn't ignore them any longer. And so, Natalie made a decision. She would see the truth with her own eyes. She had chosen one of her mid-sized dealerships in Brookhaven, a place she had once visited frequently, but hadn't stepped foot in for nearly 3 years. Rumors suggested this showroom had gone particularly astray. The numbers were still strong, but something told her that not all was as it seemed. Becoming Nina, on a crisp Monday morning, Natalie transformed herself into someone entirely new. She dyed her rich auburn hair to a deep chestnut brown and pulled it back into a simple ponytail. She swapped her tailored suits and designer heels for a pair of plain slacks, a modest blouse, and practical flats. Minimal makeup, no jewelry. She wanted to be invisible. Her persona, she decided, would be Nina Clark, a newly licensed sales associate looking for a fresh start. Natalie practiced speaking in a softer tone, adding the slightest southern lilt to her voice. She even carried an old tote bag instead of her usual structured leather handbag. Every detail mattered. When she walked through the glass doors of Sterling Autos Brookhaven that morning, she felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She reminded herself why she was there. She needed to know what was happening beneath the surface, without filters, without pretense. She was met at the entrance by the showroom manager, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his late 30s named Jason Maddox. His handshake was firm, his smile polished, but there was something hollow behind his eyes. "Welcome to the team, Nina," Jason said smoothly, his voice measured and professional. "We're all about numbers here. You bring the sales, you stick around. If you don't, well, let's just say we don't waste time on anyone who doesn't perform." Natalie, or rather, Nina, offered a polite smile. "Understood," she said simply. But inside, a quiet unease began to build. First impressions. The Brookhaven dealership was impressive on the surface. It was clean, well-lit, and filled with rows of gleaming vehicles. Every detail, from the polished floors to the scent of fresh leather, screamed success. But as Nina spent more time observing the people who worked there, cracks began to appear. Jason ran his team like a dictator. His approach was blunt, and his standards were impossibly high. He demanded results without offering guidance. Most of the sales staff operated under a cloud of fear and exhaustion, pushing customers toward overpriced add-ons and unnecessary upgrades to meet quotas. And those who hesitated to comply, Jason made sure they regretted it. There was little camaraderie. Everyone was looking over their shoulder, waiting for Jason's next tirade or snide remark. Customers were often treated as mere transactions, and their needs were secondary to closing the deal. Natalie's heart ached as she witnessed one disheartening encounter after another. This was not the company she had dreamed of building. The young couple. Midway through the day, a young couple entered the showroom. They held hands tightly, their expressions a mixture of excitement and apprehension. It was clear this was their first time buying a car. Nina was about to approach them when Jason intercepted her. "Step back," he muttered, not bothering to hide his annoyance. "I've got this." He approached the couple with a rehearsed grin and a charming tone that thinly veiled his impatience. Within minutes, he was steering them toward a luxury SUV with every imaginable upgrade, an impressive vehicle, but wildly out of their price range. When a young man hesitated, mentioning they were hoping for something more affordable, Jason's demeanor shifted. "You know," Jason said condescendingly, "some people just don't recognize a great opportunity when it's staring them in the face." Natalie's hands curled into fists at her sides. She took a breath and stepped forward. "Maybe they'd like to see a few other options first," she said evenly, locking eyes with Jason. His jaw tightened. "Listen, Nina, you're new. Why don't you stick to observing and let the pros handle this?" Natalie ignored him and turned to the couple. "Hi, I'm Nina," she said warmly. "Would you like to see some models that might better suit your budget? We have some great choices that are reliable and affordable." Relief washed over their faces. They nodded eagerly. Jason shot her a look of pure disdain, but said nothing more as she led the couple away. Quiet observations. The rest of the day brought more of the same. Jason barked orders, pressured staff, and treated customers as inconveniences unless they were easy marks. But Natalie also noticed glimmers of hope. There was Ella, a young sales associate with a gentle smile and an empathetic ear, who did her best to help every customer honestly, despite Jason's scorn. There was Marco, a mechanic with rough hands and kind eyes, who painstakingly double-checked every car before it left the lot, even when no one was watching. Natalie made careful notes, her heart heavy but resolute. Revelation and reckoning. By closing time, Natalie knew she couldn't remain undercover any longer. The toxic culture here had festered for too long, and it was time to confront it head-on. As the staff gathered for their end-of-day meeting, Natalie stepped forward. She cleared her throat, nerves tightening her chest. "I'd like to say something," she began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "Thank you all for welcoming me today. But I haven't been completely honest with you." Jason crossed his arms, his eyes narrowing. "My name isn't Nina Clark," she continued, her tone unwavering. "It's Natalie Carrington." A collective gasp swept through the room. Jason's face drained of color. He took a step back, his mouth opening and closing without sound. Natalie pressed on. "I came here because I needed to see for myself what was happening in this dealership. And what I saw broke my heart. This isn't the sterling autos I built. This isn't the culture I believe in." She turned to Jason, her gaze sharp as steel. "You're fired. Effective immediately." Jason stammered, but said nothing. With his head hung low, he walked out without a word. Natalie turned back to the team. "But I also saw people here who give me hope. Ella, Marco, and others. Starting today, we're going to rebuild this place. Together. Because this company isn't about the cars we sell. It's about the people we serve. A new beginning." The room erupted into applause, tentative at first, then growing with genuine energy. For the first time that day, Natalie smiled, feeling the weight on her shoulders lift, if only slightly. The road ahead would be long. She knew that. Changing a culture was no easy feat. But standing in that room, surrounded by people who still believed in doing what was right, she knew it was possible. As Natalie stepped out of the showroom and into the fading light of the evening, she drew in a deep, calming breath. The sunset bathed the town in warm oranges and pinks, and she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace, purpose, and the unwavering belief that true leadership wasn't about profits or power. It was about people. Moral of the story: true leadership isn't about how much you sell or how high you climb. It's about integrity, compassion, and the courage to face hard truths. When you lead with heart and honesty, you inspire change that goes far beyond the bottom line. You build something enduring, something real.